Hi, everyone. I love the rectangular look you all have going. It's absolutely marvelous. Um, well, anyways, I'm here to tell you that meat doesn't grow on trees. Or does it? Uh, well, this is a project on the development of lab-grown meats. So why should we be growing meat in a lab besides for the sheer coolness of it? Well, there are three key issues with our current system, which are made drastically sheer by the size of the livestock population in our world. Literally, like they outnumber us 2-to-1 in weight. And if you look at how much wildlife there is, it's insane the amount of money we invest into these animals. And so the main three issues are environmental, spatial, and ethical. So as for the environmental impact, livestock is responsible for 35 to 45% of all methane emissions. Keep in mind that methane is over 80 times more potent than CO2 in furthering climate change. So this is a serious amount. They're actually the third biggest polluter in the world, like cows alone are actually. The industry is also responsible for 64% of ammonia emissions, but this is overall less impactful due to ammonia's dispersal rate, making it so it's not considered a greenhouse gas, but it's still a substantial amount of ammonia going into the atmosphere. Also, the overuse of antibiotics in livestock is increasingly weakening the power of vaccines and not vaccines, of antibiotics in our future fight pathogens like COVID-19. So for Spacial, with increasing middle class in developing countries such as India and China, the demand for luxuries like meat has also increased. The amount of arable land required to host livestock need to fill this demand is superbly inefficient, especially when we consider the nutritional value we could get from plants being grown in the same amount of area. In addition, ethically, the slaughter of billions of animals every year is most definitely not good, and the terrible conditions in which animals are subjected to are a serious issue. So this process is also known of lab-grown meat is also known as culturing, just because they culture something in a little petri dish. This process starts with a biopsy on a live animal in which you extract stem cells. These are capable of multiplying, but also changing between kinds of cells. These cells are put in a culture medium that provides everything they need for them to grow. And basically, the most potent version right now is dead calf blood, which is kind of gross. And also, it's not very vegan or vegetarian friendly. It's also extremely expensive just due to the process to get it, the process to make it clean, all that. It's just extremely expensive. So despite it being good for growing meat, it's not ethical or economical. So the many startup companies, I believe there's 24 at the moment, who are trying to make this happen, have a main goal of using an in vitro serum, which is the serum you put the stem cells in, made from plants that is cheaper than the aforementioned culturing system. So hopefully this could be vegetarian friendly, maybe vegan friendly too. So there are three issues with lab-grown meat. The first is that we need to be able to mass produce the hormone mixture for in vitro to be possible. This is likely to be solved relatively quickly because of the nature of industrializing a process. Issue 2 with lab-grown meat is the complexity of different cuts of meat and of, like, if you wanted a steak, there's a formation in which you have the muscles, the nerves, the blood vessels that all need to be perfectly arranged. So getting that perfectly versus just some random ground chicken stuff, which we have now, is definitely quite the process that we haven't quite cracked yet. But they do have issues on how to, for instance, oxidize meat so it expands into a more fluffy version of itself. That could be like, I don't know, filet. So the third issue is it's complicated to produce different genders of meat, different cuts of meat, obviously, I think I already said that, and different types of meat like chicken, pork, cows grown on a mountain versus not on a mountain, male cows, female cows. Obviously, a lot of male cows are tougher than female cows. So getting the difference there will be extremely difficult. And it's hard to see companies being able to develop this fast, as in to be able to mass produce and replace the meat industry within the near future. So there's obviously limitations with this. And then I know you've probably all been wondering, is this healthy? Like, it's lab grown. It's kind of it sounds kind of gross, but it's really a mixed bag. So at one point, you got you got a new technology where we don't know that too much about it. So there's always room for improvement. But the other point, there's a lot of new room for innovation as well. So keep that in mind. So for one, cultured products, isolation and distance from animal digestive organs makes disease issues for humans much less of a concern. Like there's, I think, 3 major diseases humans get from just the stomach, acids and grossness and bacteria that just in proximity to the meat we eat. In addition, we don't, but at the same time, we don't really grown products on the human immune system. Keep in mind, we're pumping hormones into stem cells. These hormones could also alter us, so that's an issue. Though I think we have relatively high hopes about that. We also don't need to spend money on vaccines for cultured products as much, which would also help keep the vaccine availability viable and stop further strands. But still, quality control will also be an issue, so vaccines still might be used on meats as a fail-safe, along with antibiotics. The real interesting health benefit to me, at least, is that scientists can actually make our meat more healthy by changing fatty acids to more healthy fats, like omega-3s, for example. Maybe we could even work on taking out the carcinogenic properties of red meat, in which case maybe we could treat it more like a healthier substitute, especially if it's not giving us the carbon substitute that we have now. So how long till this might be available? I mean, it's already being used, actually. Recently, Singapore certified the use of lab-grown, oops, what did I do? Sorry about that. Certified the use of lab-grown meat, and the company Eat Just was able to begin selling their lab-grown chicken nuggets. And you wonder why it's chicken nuggets? It's because they can't make a chicken breast or something. So it's essentially ground meat is what we're making right now. We're just replicating a string of meat. But apparently they've been received with pretty positive reviews, and it's built without killing any animal. So we're not using that complicated, expensive method I was telling you about. So they are using a ferment in vitro. Oops, sorry about that. This company was already known for making a plant substitute egg. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I do believe that has made it across borders. The cultured meat has not, has to get certified by the EU, the FDA. There's a lot of processes, but Singapore has, and I hope we all can trust Singapore a little bit. Well, anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're somewhat interested in lab-grown meat, maybe a little less grossed out by it, and I'm hopeful that maybe it could save our planet in the coming future. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. That's really interesting. I can't believe I didn't even know that it was already like available in some places. But yeah, so just for time's sake, I can take maybe one question.
Thanks, Max, for the talk. It's an interesting topic. I believe I read something recently. One of the companies that's working on this is rather hopeful they'll have something, but they have to get what they call the chew factor out. It's got to chew right to the person who wants it. And so there is a lot of money interested in this process. And so I'll be curious to see how it comes out, because I think a lot of the things that you pointed out are desirable incomes, even on the margins, much less a complete revolution.
Yeah, definitely. I believe, gone with people being interested in it, I think Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund has invested a couple $100 million into Just Eat, and their goal right now is, I think, 3 billion, but that's besides the point. I also know that there's one more method where it's like for the chew factor you were talking about, where they're essentially able to replicate slices of meat. It's about getting those slices together, though. That's kind of a struggle.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Mike, for your questions and comments.